Now we'll get ready for a deep, low lunge with the back knee down. So place a blanket on your sticky mat as you see here, and that will be the padding for the knee that will drop down. And then stand at the front of your sticky mat with a block on either side of each foot. Stand tall in mountain pose. Stand tall in mountain pose with energized legs. And then bring your hands down to the blocks and step your left foot back. Gather the outer right hip back and in. Lift the back thigh up. Lengthen the spine from bottom to top. Long trunk here, long abdomen. And let your hips sink down to be the height of the front knee. And then let your hips sink even further down as you reach the left thigh further back, and then place the left knee down on the blanket, and then untuck your back toes. So the front of the shin and the front of the foot and the back leg is resting down on the blanket and the sticky mat, and sink your hips forward and down. So the whole sacrum is relaxing and releasing forwards, and then lift your low belly so that you lift your trunk up and out of the pelvis. Bending deeply in the front knee, pull the outer right hip back. Pull the right femur back towards the hip socket. Pull the outer right hip back and also towards the midline. Gather your hips towards each other. Lift the low belly. Kick the back shin into the sticky mat. And then tuck your back toes under, lift your back thigh, and step your back foot forward. Then now step your right foot back, first coming into a simple lunge. Gather the left femur back towards the hip socket. Lift the back thigh. Let your hips come down to be the same height as the front knee. Gather your hips together and lengthen your spine. And then walk your right leg even further back. Extend that right thigh further back. Sink your hips down and then lower the back knee down onto the blanket. And rest the top of your back foot down onto the sticky mat. Kick the right shin down into the ground as you take your hips forward, letting the whole sacrum move forward. The tailbone moves into the body, and then lift your low belly and gather your outer left hip from the outer knee to the hip socket. So the outer left hip gathers back and in towards the midline. Squeeze your outer hips together, lift the deep low belly again, and lengthen through the anterior spine, kicking the right shin down. Bending deeply in the front knee. Smooth breathing here. And then tuck your back toes and lift your back thigh. And step your back foot forward. Bend your knees, relax and release your head down. And then take your hands to hips and stretch your chest forward to come on up. Now we'll practice Supta Padangustasana. So have a strap nearby and lay down on your back. Adjust the flesh of your buttocks so that it moves away from the lower back towards the feet. Have your knees bent and feet flat, and then extend your arms overhead. Lengthen the arms and lengthen the trunk. Lengthen the front of the spine. Relaxed long belly. Open rib cage. Soft in the back of the throat. Neutral pelvis. And then grab your strap and lasso the right heel with the strap. And start to extend your right leg so that it's up at 90 degrees. And if this is difficult for you, you can keep your knee bent. And then start to extend the left leg. Make sure that the left leg is internally rotating just enough so that the midline of the front of your left leg is pointing straight up. And then think of the center of the left thigh grounding and the center of the right thigh moving away from the belly. Stay long and even in the belly. Shoulder blades slide down the back. Heads of the humerus bones ground towards the sticky mat. Open in the chest as you breathe. Long spine, open chest, extended legs, and reach the right heel straight up towards the ceiling. The top half of the right thigh is pulling away from the right side of the abdomen. The outer right hip is pulling away from the right waist. Internally rotate the left thigh and ground it down. Extend through the inner left foot. And then you can start to let the elbows bend out to the sides and pull the right ankle a little bit closer to your head as the top of the right thigh moves towards the left foot. So that right leg is like a seesaw. If the foot moves towards the head, then the top of the leg moves away from the head. Enjoy the stretch here, long spine. And then release, and we'll switch sides. But before we take the left leg up, just rest the strap on your belly and extend your arms along the floor overhead, lengthening there. Just take a breath. And then lasso the left heel with the strap, kicking the left heel up towards the ceiling. Again, taking a bent knee if that helps you keep your pelvis neutral. You don't want to tuck your pelvis here at all. And then extend the right leg long, internally rotating the right leg a bit, grounding down through that right thigh. Pull the outer left hip away from the left waist. Shoulder blades down the back, long spine, relaxed long belly, elbows wide. Kick the left heel up. Ground the center of the right thigh down. Ground the center of the left thigh away from the abdomen. So that left waist and left side of the abdomen is very long. And if you start to pull the left ankle a little more towards the head, make sure that the root of the left leg pulls away from the abdomen towards the right foot. Long spine, open breath, relaxed throat, relaxing in the groins. Find an internal rotation in the legs and relaxed groins. A neutral pelvis here as much as possible, active in the extension of the knees. And then bend your knees, feet flat. Bring your arms up and overhead to extend through the elbows and extend through the waist. Nice and even in right and left sides. Now we'll practice Supta Padangustasana 2. So have a blanket and a strap with you. Lay down on your back. Knees bent and feet flat, neutral pelvis. And stretch your arms up overhead along the floor and lengthen out your trunk as you breathe. And then make sure that your folded blanket is to your right. And lasso the right heel with your strap. Stretch your right leg up to the ceiling and then stretch your left leg long. And just start to extend fully the backs of the knees if you can. And now bring the blanket close to the outer right hip and hold on to the strap with your right hand only. Spread the left arm to the left and start to open up your right leg out to the right. So the blanket is supporting you underneath the outer right thigh. Keep the left leg extending. And think of the low belly spreading to the left to balance out the right leg going to the right. Long in the abdomen. And start to notice the way that that right thigh is rotating in the hip socket. If you rotate it in slightly, you might get a very different stretch in your inner thigh. If you keep your leg at around the height of the hip, it will be different than if you pull the right leg up towards the armpit. So breathe here as you explore stretching different parts of the inner thigh. Stay grounded in that left thigh. And then inhale and come up to center. And we'll switch sides. So place your blanket on the other side, so it's to the left of you. And lasso the left heel with the strap. Extend the left leg up first, and then extend the right leg. Internally rotating in that right leg. Outer left hip pulling away from the left waist, backs of the knees opening, long in the spine, shoulder blades sliding down the back. And then pull the blanket towards the outer left hip, very close, and grab onto the strap close to your foot with your left hand only. Spread the right arm to the right, spread the low belly to the right as the leg opens out to the left. And experiment here with rotating the leg so that you can turn in slightly. A little bit of internal rotation in the hip socket or a little bit of external rotation in the hip socket will give you a different stretch. It might stretch different parts of the inner thigh. Grounded in that right thigh, even in the waist. Right and left waists are long, long abdomen. And then bring the left leg all the way up to center. And release, bending the knees, feet flat. Now we'll practice Upavishta Konasa forward bend with a bolster for support. So sit on your butt and open your legs out to Upavishta Konasana. Legs no wider than 120 degrees. And then pull the flesh of your buttocks back so you can sit on the center of the sitting bones. Have the bolster in front of you vertically. Rest your fingertips on the mat behind you. Let the shoulders go back, elbows back. Be long in your waist. And ascend the central axis of the body from the pelvic floor all the way up through the top of the head. And let your thigh bones be grounded, especially the tops of the thigh bones, and let your legs be active and feet and toes open. And don't let the thighs roll in or out, but let the fronts of your thighs point straight up. And then pull the bolster close into your pubic bone area and pull your belly up and over the bolster to elongate out and lay down here. And rest your forearms down, slide your forearms forward a little bit and take your head to one side and rest. And let your legs stay a little bit active here. So just find a moderate amount of effort so that the thighs don't roll in completely or roll out completely. Keep your legs fairly neutral. Keep the tops of your thighs grounded and let the buttocks release down behind you. So the top buttocks releases down towards the bottom buttocks. And then switch the turn of the head. Stretch from the inner groins to the inner ankles. And you can gently think of gathering from the outer ankles all the way back to the outer knees and the outer hips. So the inner thighs extend outwards and the outer thighs gather back in. soft, receding, long belly. Don't harden in the belly at all here. And breathe into the backs of the lungs. And then use your hands to help yourself on up. Take your fingertips behind and open the chest here, sitting upright.